Britain has a long and proud gardening heritage.
And a passion for plants that goes back centuries.
But all is not well in our once green and pleasant land.
Front gardens paved over.
Our lawns lacklustre.
And rare wildflowers on the brink of extinction.
So we need you to help us.
In our campaign to help rediscover
our passion for gardening.
We're going to give you the best gardening tips.
And revealing British gardens that will quite simply take your breath away.
It's time to plant and prune.
And sharpen your shears.
Let the Great British Garden Revival begin.
On tonight's show, Hart Dyke champions the houseplant. But first, I'm on the cottage garden campaign trail. What do you think of when you think of a British garden? Surely it's a cottage garden, brimming with flowers, overflowing with vegetables, the trees dripping with fruit. But there's a problem. We're in danger of losing some of those cherished plants and forgetting the whole ethos of cottage gardening. Though it's sometimes seen as dated and time-consuming, I believe this unique style of British gardening is not only easy, but has never been more relevant. So come along with me, Carol Klein, on my Great British Cottage Garden Revival. On my revival, I'll be in Nantwich to get people excited about their cottage gardens.
I love cottage gardening.
I'll discover a breathtaking garden in Yorkshire, growing a rich array of plants. As a gardener, I come into this place and I just feel so excited by it. And I'll be showing you just how easy it is to start your own cottage garden at home. Now, all along those routes, there are little nodules, little bumps, and each one of those is capable of producing a new shoot. This is the garden at East Lambrook Manor, in the heart of Somerset. By many, this is seen as the home of the British cottage garden, and you can see why. One of the most influential gardening writers of the mid-20th century, Marjorie Fish, planted and cared for this garden for 30 years. She showed a whole generation of gardeners how easy it was to achieve a wonderful laid-back style, and she shared with them her overwhelming love of plants. Marjorie Fish's garden personifies what most of us mean by a cottage garden, but none of it was conscious, none of it was deliberate. It was much more a question of an attitude, of bringing plants together and putting them so they informally mingled and mixed. She loved new plants, but more than that, she loved to reintroduce things which had almost gone out of cultivation, were almost lost, and she put them all together in this most wonderful melee. Since Marjorie died, the garden has had several owners. All of them have made sure that the garden reflects her principles and ideas. The current owner is Mike Wertmeister, who took on the mantle of East Lambrook in 2008.
It's a very English style of gardening. It's gardening on a human scale, which is why so many people who come here can identify with this garden, and they take ideas away from this garden, which they wouldn't from a more formal garden.
No, it's very, very inclusive, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, you just look at it and you think, oh, you know, I like my garden to be
I mean,
like
you look
this.
at it, you look at this, you think, well, I could do this.
It's experimental and it's great because it lets you express yourself, doesn't it?
You can do anything with anything, and then you suddenly find these lovely plant combinations, some of which are planned and some of which plan themselves, because we let things seed here.
Yeah, Marjorie Fish did that, didn't she?
She did that, yes, she did exactly the same. She let plants seed, she let plants do what they wanted to do, which is why it has this sort of magical nature about it.
Marjorie Fish's informal style wasn't based on the large, elaborate borders of country estates, but rather the small, practical, productive gardens that had graced rural homes up and down the country since the 15th century. To visit one of these quintessential cottage gardens, I want to take you to the breathtaking Lake District. Couldn't really have a more beautiful day or a more beautiful setting for this. The mountains are in the background, it's misty, it's glorious. It's the perfect setting to go and have a look at a cottage garden. In the hills by Windermere, you'll find what for millions of people around the world is the epitome of a British garden. Heavily featured in some of the most famous children's books ever written, this garden belonged to Beatrix Potter. Come on. I'll tell you what, the first time you come into a garden, I've never been here before, it's so exciting, isn't it? This is Hilltop House, where Beatrix Potter lived for over 30 years in the early 20th century. But I'm here to see the garden, filled with plants, mingling and mixing together. Alchemilla, masses of it, marjoram, miles of it. And look at this. This is that soap wort. They actually used this for washing the clothes long before all those soap powders and everything were invented. It's typically cottage garden. These classic cottage garden plants not only feed you and help you wash your clothes, but they also attract pollinators and keep pests away. Today, the house and garden are run by the National Trust, and they've included some real cottage garden heroes. Lovely phlox. I think phlox typifies what you mean by a cottage garden plant. My mum gave me a big chunk of a white phlox, which my granddad had given her, and who knows who gave it to him. And these things come down the generations, you know, swapped between family and neighbours and friends. You get a wonderful sense of tradition in this garden. I'm meeting Liz Hunter-McFarlane, the House and Collections Manager. It's an iconic view, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
You can recognise the garden from some of her books, can't you? It featured quite a lot.
That's right. The garden's almost like an extra character in some of the stories. The plants really kind of get involved, and of course there's that beautiful iconic view looking up the garden path that's at the start of the tale of Tom Kitten.
Despite its cultural significance, this garden was given over to food production during the war and then grassed over, a common occurrence with cottage gardens of the time. But Hilltops has been through its own revival, and today it's been put back to something Beatrix Potter would have recognised.
We have been left a huge selection of photographs by Rupert Potter, Beatrix's father.
Yeah.
They were taken around 1908, 1912, and they show us not just what was growing in the garden, but where it was growing and the particular varieties.
Would she have loved dabbling around amongst these plants? You just get that feeling from it.
Absolutely. We've got some wonderful letters of Beatrix's that tell us exactly what she was up to. She actually confessed that she'd stolen something from every garden in the village, just about, including some honesty.
Nicking plants, or at least taking cuttings, was a well-worn cottage garden tradition. So have you got a garden?
Yes, we have, in the Cotswolds.
And is it a cottage garden?
It is.
Do you ever steal things? Because you know that Beatrix Potter...
Oh, I never steal.
Certainly not.
Never steal.
Well, you're not a true cottage gardener then, are you?
Maybe not.
Of course, it was the stories that were set in this garden that attract over 100,000 visitors from around the world every year. And look, here's the veg garden. Can't you just imagine Peter Rabbit climbing through the gate? Look at it. They would have brought in Things like these evening primroses, wonderful things which bring in pollinating insects too. If you companion plant, if you put plants together like that, you get less pests, less diseases. You certainly don't need to use chemicals. And you use every inch of space and things just grow happily together.
I do organic gardening, so I do put my flowers with my vegetables to keep the bugs off them.
So a spot of companion planting, which is pure cottage garden, really, isn't it? I think gardens like this have become rarer, and yet I feel now that people yearn for this kind of reality. And you can wander around and do a bit of gardening without it being a question of keeping those edges straight and cutting that grass. I mean, no grass here, is there? Cottage gardens like Hilltop would certainly have inspired Marjorie Fish at East Lambrook Manor, and there's no doubt that this garden has inspired me. I love cottage gardens. I always wanted one. And eventually, when we moved to North Devon, I got one. And one of my major inspirations was Marjorie Fish. I read every single word she wrote. I devoured her books. Eventually, we got the opportunity to come here. I came with my mum and my 2 daughters. Imagine how I felt. I was surrounded by all those plants I'd read about. In many ways, that visit and these plants have defined the way I garden. To have your own cottage garden, all you need is a love of plants. And I want to introduce you to some of my favourites now. The kind of plants that you see all around East Lambrook now are just the sort of plants, in fact, in some cases, the very same plants that Marjorie Fish grew. They really answer that category of cottage garden plants. They're things which are robust, strong, really close to the plants as they grow in the wild. They don't need huge amounts of care and attention, they just get on with it. And what's more, they get on with each other. Look at this glorious little aster. This is one called Little Carlo. It looks nothing now, but in a few weeks' time, the whole thing will be smothered with the most beautiful bright blue flowers. The butterflies will come down and suck its nectar. And doesn't it look just the job with this glorious root back here? Big, bright yellow stars, tough as old boots, this plant. There are annuals, things like cosmos, that you can just sprinkle in and let them mix and mingle. There are tender perennials too, like your dahlias. This is what a traditional cottage garden is all about, but there are cutting-edge cottage gardens too. Cottage gardens are always evolving, and I've come to West Yorkshire to see one of the most up-to-the-minute examples. I've been itching to explore it for years. Look at that! I think I'm going to love what's in here. Oh! Oh, it's beautiful. Look at it. It just greets you and involves you straight away. I'm going. This is Dove Cottage, a nursery and garden that challenges all those dusty preconceptions of a cottage garden. This is what my revival's all about. Look at underneath. You go under here, and here's this whole new set of treasures, these little sanguisorba heads, little bobbly heads in a big thicket and yarrow, and they're all sort of pushing forward, but they're not pushing each other out of the way. They're just saying, we love living together. Look at the way they've used this grass. There's so much movement and dynamism and energy about the whole place, isn't there? It's magical. It's not just the planting combinations that give this garden its wild beauty. The garden is clearly allowed to take control of its own destiny. Look at this, all these separate little gardens that have created themselves. Eryngiums, sea hollies, and these beautiful knobbly heads of verbascum. Aren't they marvellous? As a gardener, I come into this place and I just feel so excited by it. But I think anybody would. I think if you came into this garden and you perhaps never gardened before and all you've got is a little patch, you'd want to do it. You'd want to achieve this sort of thing. And you could do it. That's the point. This inspirational space was planted by Kim and Stephen Rogers over 16 years ago, when Stephen gave up being a butcher and became a cottage gardener. What do people think of the garden?
They're usually surprised. They don't expect to open that gate and see what they see with the tall perennials and grasses.
Yeah, it's got this sort of very simple plants that you would find in a cottage garden, and then it's got some newer plants that you perhaps wouldn't normally see, but they still fit in well together.
Yeah.
And they still have this wilder look, and it's all about the insects and everything else that goes with a cottage garden.
Yeah. So where do you think cottage gardens are going then?
Well, hopefully in the same direction that we're going with our garden, which is live and let live, and accepting that plants are going to fall over. And once you start looking with a different pair of eyes, instead of wanting everything to stand up perfectly and have a gap between everything, then it starts to come, and it's taken us a while.
If you were trying to tell somebody about how to create a garden with that sort of feel, that lovely cottagey feel, what would you say?
A lot of plants have got to be good self-seeders so that the garden gets a life of its own. So it's not as contrived then. There's all this spontaneity of plants.
You know, plants have their own personalities.
They do.
They want to do their own
They
thing.
make you smile.
Yeah.
They do. And you can tell them, you're lovely. Yeah.
I'm back at East Lambrook to show you one of the most intimate ways to form a relationship with your garden's plants, growing them from seed. Watching your seedlings grow into tall, proud plants will transform the way you see your garden. The first step when you grow from seed is collecting it from your own plants. All you need is a paper bag. It's best done on a dry day to ensure your seeds don't get wet. This is an eryngium, it's a sea holly, and it's from South America. You can't divide it. You can't take cuttings from it. The only chance you've got of making more is to collect the seed. And if you look here, right in the top, in the apex of the plant, the apical bud, and that's the one that, in almost every case, sets seed first. When the plant is ready to shed its seed, that's the minute you jump in and collect it. This is just falling apart now, all those separate seeds. As long as they stay cool and dry, you can keep your seeds in paper bags for months. This is an incredibly beautiful plant. It's called Diorama pulcherrimum, and pulcherrimum means very beautiful. These lovely seed heads are preceded by big, drooping pink flowers. As the seed pods swell, they get heavier and they bring these lovely arching stems closer to the ground. All these have started to open up. That paper casing is pulling back, and inside you can see all these wonderful little bronzy seeds. Now that whole stem there is full of ripe seed, so the best way to do it is just to gently pull it off to make good earrings, really, wouldn't it? And every single one of those is going to make a new plant. Just like cottage garden plants, your seeds will come in all sorts of glorious shapes and sizes. There are so many plants that you can grow from seed, like this beautiful sweet pea. This is Lathyrus latifolius. It's one called pink pearl. So it's a sweet pea with these lovely pink flowers, which have obviously been smothering it all summer long. But it's a perennial, so it'll come up every single year. I'm looking for stuff that's like that. So the seed pods are brown and ripe. They're just about to burst. And if you actually look inside one of them, you can see it's totally full, just like a pea pod, of these lovely little seeds. They're still a bit green, but they're on their way to being brown. Seed collection is a wonderful way to get to know your plants and a great excuse to get into the garden. Once your seeds are collected, you don't have to plant all of them. You can swap them with other people. I've come to Cheshire to visit the spiritual home of the Cottage Garden Society, a society which has seed swapping at its heart. Clive Lane and Angela Winfield have been exchanging seeds for the last 35 years. So why did you feel the need to have the Cottage Garden Society?
In the early 80s, there was a style called easy maintenance gardens, and lots of cottage gardens in villages were uprooted, and we started to lose the cottage garden plants. So we decided that we should form the Cottage Garden Society and swap plants.
Promote the cause.
Promote the cause, yes.
Yeah.
This has really been our life's work. Preserving the plants and conserving them, but it really needs people to carry the torch forward now to ensure that the plants live on, rather than just as pictures in a book.
We're taking some of the Society's seed to the Nantwich Food and Drink Festival to see if there's an appetite for growing plants from seed.
Oh yay! Oh yay! Oh yay! Visitors to Nantwich, here today we have the Great British Seed Swap, part of the Cottage Garden Revival. Come along and join, it is your heritage!
So you're a gardener, John?
Runner beans are my favourite.
Now you can put some flowers with them.
Right, lovely.
What are you going to have?
I'll have a lucky dip. You pick me 5 out.
You'll do it right
I'll have them
first
growing,
time.
no problem.
Well,
I'll
thank you
shout at them
very
if they
much.
don't grow.
No, just ring your bell. Are you gardeners?
Got the sunflowers, I've got the buddleias and the butterflies and everything. Love to see wildflowers, I want to see more.
Right, so here's your opportunity.
Right.
I always have some of these in my bag.
What, empty seed packet?
Well, they're just little envelopes, and what I do, if somebody's got some seeds, I'll say, oh, could I have a few of those?
You've grown the biggest sunflower in your class. In your class or the whole school?
The class, I think.
Yeah. How big was it?
About 2 meters 7.
That's absolutely enormous, isn't it? It's higher than I can reach, I'll bet. What I'm after is a glass of your wine.
Yes.
Swap for a couple of packets of seed.
All right then.
Yeah?
That seems fair trade to me.
Here's to your seeds.
Thank you very much.
What's so great about growing stuff from seed, do you think?
They always remind me of other people. That buddleia is Sylvia. It's not just the thing that actually attracts all the butterflies, it's Sylvia.
You're lovely.
Oh, thank you, Carol. So are you.
I love cottage gardening. I do, that's not a lie.
And remember, with the Cottage Garden Society, you're not just having seeds, you're gaining friends too.
Oh, right.
Yes. Well, my hair's a bit flattened, but everything else, including my spirits, is really uplifted because it's been such a splendid day. And everybody seems to be willing to espouse the whole idea of this way of gardening. I'm back at East Lambrook, this stunning 2-acre example of a cottage garden. But not all these plants would have been grown from seed. Some would have come from cuttings, and that's another crucial cottage garden activity. Well, growing stuff from seed is wonderfully productive, but you can never, ever guarantee just how your seedlings are going to turn out. If you want to make sure that a plant is exactly the same as its parent, then you've got to do it vegetatively. All that means is you're producing a clone of a plant, something that's identical to its parent. Well, you can do that with cuttings, but you can also do it with some plants with roots. Now, I've dug up these two beautiful big fat chunks of acanthus. You've got to remember when you're doing these that you must have them the right way round. So the top of your cuttings, and you'll take several from here, must always be the end of the cutting which was closest to the crown of the plant, the point at which the plant meets the earth. Apart from that, it's so straightforward. And all you do is take a chunk of this, and something about 4 centimetres long or so, something like that. And then all you want to do is push this into the compost so the top is completely flush with that compost. You just cover the top with grit. And the idea of doing that is just that you stop weed seeds growing, you retain the moisture underneath. If you've got somewhere warm to keep them, then that's the best place, but they will root eventually even outside. Now, there's another sort of root cutting where it really doesn't matter which way up they go because they're going to be horizontal, so they're just going from left to right or east to west. And it's an ideal way of propagating things like this Japanese anemone. This is one called Andrea Atkinson. Beautiful white one. Now, if you just examine the plant, you find that amongst these very fine fibrous roots, there are some thicker ones like that. So if I delve into this, I'm going to find quite a lot of separate roots. There's a nice piece. Look at that, ideal. Now, all along those roots, there are little nodules, little bumps, and each one of those is capable of producing a new shoot. So you're just exploiting really what the plant does in nature anyway. So just take off a few pieces. To transform these dainty roots into bold new plants, simply cut them into 4 centimetre lengths, press them down onto the surface of some damp compost, cover them with grit and put them somewhere nice and warm. If you haven't got a greenhouse, your kitchen windowsill will do. Never mind all that washing up liquid and all that stuff. Get something important in there. And as long as you try and emulate nature and do exactly what the plant does in the ground, so for big, thick roots going downwards vertically, for ones that creep along the ground just under the surface, then horizontally. It's so straightforward, it really is. Anybody can do it. I hope my revival has caught your imagination. There's so much diversity in the plants you can have in your new cottage garden. And in a single species, there can be a huge diversity. This is Surrey and the home of Robin Middleton. He's created a dynamic cottage garden which is focused on just one plant, the salvia.
What I absolutely love about salvias is that they come in every colour of the rainbow. There's even a salvia with black flowers, and there are a few rare ones with yellow flowers. I don't have a favourite salvia, because if you ask me every day, I'll change my mind. But I can show you one or two now, which I absolutely adore. These are some of the taller salvias which I have. They start flowering in July, right until the frost. They've been here for 10 years in this garden. And just cut them back in the winter and wait for them to come up again in the spring. Anyone can grow these.
Robin started growing salvias over 20 years ago, and he's amassed one of the largest collections in the country, with over 140 different varieties.
I'm trying to create a modern cottage garden, so I think salvias complement the traditional cottage garden plants very well indeed. I feel I have a role in the conservation of salvias due to the fact that some of them are becoming extinct. If they do become extinct in the wild, I'm very happy to grow them myself and to share them with other enthusiasts.
Protecting our cottage garden plants for future generations is just one of the compelling reasons for us to take another look at this exciting and simple way of gardening. Cottage gardening isn't just a style of gardening, it's almost a way of life. It's all about friendship, about sharing plants, experiences, associations. I hope that the places we've been to, the people we've met, and the plants we've seen will inspire you to take part in the Great British Cottage Garden Revival.
I am surrounded by some of the most exciting and diverse plant life on our planet. And although many of these species and varieties are not able to survive in your garden, a lot of them will thrive in your home.
Houseplants like the cheese plant and rubber plant have suffered an image problem over the past few decades. We were once a proud indoor gardening nation, but today our sales of plants like these are amongst the lowest in Europe. I want us to fall back in love with the array of plants we can all grow in our homes and a tradition that goes back generations.
So I want you to join me, Tom Hart Dyke, in my Great British Houseplant Revival.
As part of my campaign, I'll be visiting one of our most famous houseplant nurseries.
I literally have tingles. Everybody in the UK should have a houseplant like this. Something so bonkers.
I'll uncover an awe-inspiring collection of houseplants in East Sussex.
To be totally blown away like this for me is quite unusual.
As well as showing you how simple it is to grow begonias.
Easy as pie, anyone can do it. This is the home of the Royal Horticultural Society, good old Wisley Gardens in leafy Surrey. The gardens were originally laid out in 1878, but I'm here today to see a rather exciting addition.
And this is it, a space-age glittering cathedral to indoor gardening. It contains one of the most important indoor plant collections in the world. If you think houseplants are dated and boring, reminiscent of your granny's sideboard, then this incredible building is where I'll be basing my campaign to hopefully change your mind.
This, to me, is houseplant heaven. Just look at this wonderful glass house. It's the equivalent to 10 tennis courts in size. And for me, it brings back memories of travelling abroad and seeing plants in the wild, because it was at the age of 7 that my influential gardening granny gave me my first houseplant, actually here from the garden centre at Wesleyan. But from that one houseplant, I've never looked back in expanding my collection and travelling abroad to far-flung climes.
As a plant hunter, I've seen many of these plants growing in the wild. But just as big a thrill is seeing them growing in my own home. And that's a joy I want more of us to experience. Sadly, the houseplant is not as loved in Britain as it once was. And we are put to shame by countries like Denmark and Norway, where people are 5 times more likely to buy an indoor plant. And that's just not good enough.
If my revival is to succeed, I need to find out why these wonderful plants have lost their popularity and to rediscover their proud history.
I'm a plant hunter. I've been to all corners of the globe seeing plants in their native habitats. But for anybody interested in the outdoors, including plant hunters, this amazing house in northwest Kent is a gardener's pilgrimage. It's a gardener's graceland, because this was the home of Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin is best known as a naturalist, but he spent 5 years as a plant hunter in the 1830s, when houseplants were in their heyday. Travelling the world, he would find exotic plant specimens that he could bring back for people to grow indoors. This greenhouse is stuffed full of a huge diversity of houseplants and is where Darwin changed the way we saw the natural world forever. And I can't wait to explore it.
Look at all the orchids. They're fantastic. And then here, all these lovely sundews, the drosseras, through to all of these lovely other insectivorous plants, including the sarracenias.
Darwin is credited with introducing many varieties of orchid into the UK. But this one holds some traumatic plant hunting memories of my own.
When I was kidnapped 13 years ago during our captivity on the day I was going to be executed on June the 16th, I'll never forget it, at 5 minutes to 12 of the year 2000. This just turned 14-year-old said, "You've got 5 hours, mate, before we blow your star head off." And the minute he turned around to me, I thought, right, I need orchids to distract me, the thought of being executed. And these are the first orchids I saw hanging from the trees around the camp where me and my friend were looking for these orchids. We should never have been in this place. Wow. It's the first flowering Sinopia I've seen since that time. Absolutely amazing plant. I didn't expect to see that today at Charles Darwin's place.
It was my passion for plants that got me through that harrowing experience, and I believe it is a passion I shared with Darwin and the huge number of Victorian plant collectors. I'm meeting Christine Lalumia, a design historian, who I'm hoping can give me an insight into the relationship between Victorians and their indoor plants.
For the Victorians, were houseplants important to them?
Absolutely essential, because when you brought a plant indoors, you were bringing nature indoors. So it was thought to be pleasing to have lots and lots of green living material in your room. And of course, the Victorians took an enormous amount of time tending these.
Christine, I'm on this revival to get the houseplants up and running again, to get them more popular. Is there something that we can learn, a key thing that we can learn from our Victorian past?
Well, there are a lot of things we can learn, but I think probably one of the best is giving something time to flourish. Houseplants are meant to be things that you care for over a long period, develop a relationship with, and they grow and grow and get better and better with time. People don't want to spend that amount of thought, that amount of effort. So cut flowers or other decorative solutions are often chosen, and it's a great shame.
To find out how houseplants are faring in the 21st century, I'm heading to the front line of my campaign. This is Woodcote Green in Surrey, one of the largest garden centres in the country. It's a massive 30-acre plot, so I'm expecting big things from the houseplant department.
It's an awful immediate response to have, but you do get a little crestfallen once you've seen this collection here, considering the huge size of the garden centre.
To find out why this collection is so uninspiring, I'm meeting Head of Plant Sales, David Beard.
We did used to have a lot larger houseplant section, but we used to have a lot of plants that would sit there for months and months, plants that people didn't know what they were, didn't know what to do with them. And in the end, we'd have to either reduce them or even worst case scenario, throw them away. We are very much supply and demand, so if someone wants something, we get it. Otherwise, you know, we just try and treat the core section of houseplants.
With garden centres shrinking their houseplant collections, surely there has never been a better time for my revival. Back at the grandeur of the glass house at Wisley, I'm reminded of the huge diversity of plant life we can grow in our homes. Anyone that thinks houseplants are boring clearly hasn't been here. I'm meeting the glasshouse team manager, Peter Jones, to find out which plants he thinks should take centre stage in my revival.
So, Peter, why do you think we need to revive our love of houseplants?
I think it's just so important to have something green in our lives. I think it's just healthy for, like, as a human spirit, to have that extra bit of life quality in our living spaces.
And what plants, being surrounded by such a diverse range of plants here, what plants do you recommend as being relatively easy to grow?
Well, perhaps a good group of plants which should be mentioned and brought more into the forefront is, say, tillandsias and the epiphytes.
And Peter, these are commonly called air plants, aren't they?
These kind of wonderful plants here survive off the moisture in the air, so they would be living on trees in the rainforest where there be high humidity, but we can take those kind of adaptations and have them in our living space. So something like this
You mounted them on your cork oak bit of bark there.
Exactly. Something quite nice and interesting that you could have in your bathroom. And, I mean, look at the diversity in shapes that you can get. Look at this. You've got an amazing, great
coming out of that.
red flower spike. I think that's something that people shouldn't be afraid of trying in their home.
Peter, I can see why you so love air plants. They're so diverse, aren't they? But for me, as a child, I've been interested especially in the cacti, and your collection here is mind-boggling.
Cacti are crucial players in my revival, and there's an incredible range with over 1,500 species. In the wild, some are capable of growing as tall as a 5-storey building. These awe-inspiring plants can survive in some of the world's most inhospitable conditions, so your front room should be no problem.
I mean, the one we've got here, one of the Puntia microdaisies, isn't it? One of the microdaisies. They're just fantastic, quite spiny, these little glocked hairs here, but so easy to propagate.
I know, and you've got to be so careful with those spines, because once they stick in, they don't want to pull out their barb, so they can be quite pesky.
Hence the bit of newspaper here. I mean, what I love about them, look, in just, what, 30 seconds, a bit extra just to allow for not getting spiked with a bit of newspaper here, plucking them in there, putting it on this end where I've made the cut here. It's calloused over a little, so it's dried a bit. And carefully, right, Peter? In the centre, is that right?
Yeah,
Rough in the centre of the pot. In it goes like that, right? 3 inches in the compost there, something like that.
Exactly, and it'll produce some roots. And before you know it, it'll start forming new pads just on the top of that.
It's important to keep the moisture completely dry.
Exactly.
You're not watering at all, are you?
You're not watering at all, because at this stage, it hasn't got any roots, it's got no way of taking up any moisture. The only thing that could possibly happen is that water would sit there, and then so you want to leave it as dry as possible. Be perfect.
It can take up to 2 months for you to see roots protruding from the bottom of the pot. And then you'll know you've created another cactus for your collection. I'm on my way to North Wales to visit one of the few indoor plant nurseries in the country.
Dibley's Nursery is a family-run business specialising in one of the most awesomely diverse houseplants available to us in the UK. A stonking favourite of mine, the African Streptocarpus.
The Streptocarpus is the perfect houseplant for my revival. This long-flowering, brightly coloured plant from South Africa is also known as the Cape Primrose. I've seen them growing in the wild and they are absolutely glorious, but this is the biggest collection I have ever seen.
The diversity of flower colour here, the tens of thousands of flowers that are out now, is just gobsmacking.
The nursery has been going for 40 years, and in that time they have amassed a jaw-dropping 24 Chelsea Flower Show gold medals for their incredible plants. I'm meeting a legend in the houseplant world, Lynn Dibley, to find out the secret to her success.
I think because we're always introducing new varieties, we breed all new varieties every year and introduce some really good long flowering varieties, easy flowering varieties, and that's how we keep going.
Lynn is continually revitalising their collection, offering people something new and exciting.
We crossed one of our hybrids, which flowers only in the winter, with one of our summer flowering varieties, and fortunately we ended up with something which is crystallised, which flowers 12 months a year. It's one of the few plants you'll ever find that flowers non-stop.
And is the main reason why it's so popular?
Yeah. Definitely.
The Streptocarpus might take up most of Lynn's time, but she's also trying to bring back some of our forgotten houseplants, like these triumphant gloxinias. But there is another plant related to the Streptocarpus, a fellow gesneriad, that I'm hoping Lynn can show me.
Ever since I've walked in your wonderful glass houses here today, I've been dying to have a peek at, hopefully you've got it, something called Seningia leucotricha.
I certainly have. I got a really nice specimen I can show you.
I literally have tingles. I can't take this. It is absolutely glorious.
That's it. Not in flower, unfortunately.
Oh, dear.
But that is the corm that it grows from.
How old is that?
That's probably about 10 to 12 years old.
It's like a rock face or something. Is it houseplant worthy? Is it quite easy to grow?
Yeah, it's exceptionally easy to grow. It's just, unfortunately, people don't know it. It's not a plant that you find very often in the garden centres or written about. There are just so many plants out there that are excellent houseplants that people don't know about.
Everybody in the UK should have a houseplant like this. Something so quirky, something so unusual, something so bonkers.
I'm back at the glass house at Wisley, which helps draw nearly 1 million visitors every year to the Royal Horticultural Society's flagship garden. Underneath this glass roof, there are 5,000 different plants, and I'd love them to inspire you to start your own collection.
Some houseplants are so easy to grow and even more fun to propagate. So why not start your houseplant revival in your home by spreading some botanical love and give free plants away to your friends and your family?
The perfect plant for this is a houseplant that was first introduced to British gardeners in the 1860s. It was an instant hit with its colourful foliage and delightful flowers. Please meet the begonia.
Begonias make such spectacular houseplants, and they're relatively easy to grow. Where they originally come from in parts of northeast India and South Africa, they grow as woodland plants, so they're used to low light levels, and this is ideal for a lot of household situations. The other brilliant thing about them is they're easy to propagate from leaf cuttings. So easy, easy as pie. Anyone can do it.
There are different ways to propagate begonias from leaf cuttings, but for me, this is the simplest and most effective. The first step is to cut a leaf right at the top of the stem, flush with the base.
Look at the venations underneath here, so spectacular. And it's these venations, these leaf veins, that are critical in taking a begonia leaf cutting. And you're always cutting through at least one main vein. It's from these veins that you are going to have your new little begonia babies. Here, if you like, is your postage stamp of a begonia leaf cutting. I'm going to put it in right at the edge between the compost and the plastic pot, and I'm putting it in lengthways, about inch, half an inch into the compost. This white fluffy stuff in with it's called perlite, which adds drainage but also air, which is crucial to the success of these plants growing away. Just going to do a last little tap down to stabilise them. It'll push down and 1, 2, 3. Put the label in the pot so you know which type of begonia it is. Give them a good old soak. Rainwater, tap water, no problem at all, but not too much. Just a little splash and dash of water. The last thing to do, which is so crucial, is get the plastic bag. If you don't do this, you'll find that the moisture that's still coming through the leaf will mean that these plants will completely and utterly dry out and shrivel up and die. You've got to cover them in the bag.
Once covered, place the pot somewhere warm and bright, but not in direct sunlight. In 8 to 10 weeks, you will see new leaves begin to sprout.
If you're still undecided as to whether it's time for a houseplant revival in your home, then I have one more compelling argument.
It's time to take my revival to the big city, where I'm meeting this man. Dr. Craig Knight is an occupational psychologist. Measuring productivity in the office, he has found that a few plants on your desk could make a big difference to your business.
We're very interested psychologically in why people are put to work in spaces like this. Because business thinks this is a great idea, because there's nothing to distract you in this work surface. And when we've run studies, we found that this is the worst space you can put people into work in terms of well-being and productivity.
What are the results shown by you placing them on the desks?
We installed £10,000 worth of plants in a firm very close to where we are now, and we increased productivity by 15% on one work floor, which means that £10,000 worth of plants, if that was replicated across the year, would be worth £1 to £5 million of increased revenue.
With such huge financial rewards in foliage, maybe we should make all of our environments a little greener.
Craig, what a transformation.
Bit different, eh?
Look at this place. I mean, 20 minutes ago, sitting at this office desk, I wouldn't be seen dead. But now, I never thought I'd say this, but I can feel the grey matter whizzing around, productivity going through the roof. Can we convince office workers just passing by to have a houseplant on their desk?
Why don't we see? Let me try a few people and see what they say.
At your place of work, do you have any houseplants at all?
No, I don't think we do.
No, I don't. It's actually pretty plain.
Houseplants are supposed to also increase well-being and 15% more of your productivity at work.
15%? Wow. OK, certainly worth looking into.
Sometimes, you know, I just tend to space out, and without a plan, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Could you take that under the cover of darkness with a balaclava with nice big slits so you can see just about where you're going, and sneak it in, floor 15, whatever it is in that building over there, onto your office desk and see what anybody says in the morning? Would you consider doing that?
I think that would be a great idea, yes, definitely.
I'll help you tonight. I'm really chuffed. I've managed to convince quite a few people to get a houseplant on their empty office desk. But have I convinced you?
I'm sure you're itching to get hold of some life-affirming indoor plants. So I've come to the UK's largest web-based houseplant supplier and opened the door to a brave new world of indoor gardening.
Oh my golly gosh, what a selection of houseplants. Absolutely awesome. The revival is not just underway in a small way, it is underway in a mega way. This is fantastic. Mexico, India, the Codianums, classic Indonesian plants these. Dracæna draco, the blood dragon tree. The stag's horn fern, Platycerium bifurcatum. I've seen these in the wild in northeast Australia, and it brings back plant hunting field memories. It's absolutely breathtaking. To be totally blown away like this for me is quite unusual. This is quality.
This feast of foliage and flowers has been put together by Paul Thomas.
Mate, honestly, the finest collection I have seen for years. I was spotting quite a few plants from Australia. They were Metzideros, Pahutakawa, and you're really pushing boundaries to getting people to know that there is actually a huge diversity available for people. I think it's really
Absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah, well, every house, there's a wide diversity of areas, and there's no such thing as a bad houseplant. There's just the right plant for the right space. People really want to bring greenery and something inside, especially if you haven't got a garden, which 3 million households in the UK haven't.
Many of the plants here can be used as strong interior statements, but Paul also carries a lot of the houseplant classics.
Here we have the peace lily, one of the most well-loved houseplants, instantly recognisable. Actually, one of the plants chosen by NASA to test plants' capacity to take toxins out of the air. I mean, the indoor environment has been proved to be 5 to 10 times more polluted than the exterior environment. So if you've got the windows closed over the winter, these toxins do build up, and plants take them out.
So, Paul, houseplants aren't just great to look at for foliage and flowers, etc. They actually are good for you, literally, aren't they?
Literally. They are very good for you.
What do you think, in your opinion, is the singlest thing that will help to get this revival on the road?
People need to recognise that they can keep them alive. If you go away every 2 weeks and you forget about plants, there's a plant for you. If you water it every day, there's a plant for you. If you've got a freezing cold hallway where the wind comes through, there's a plant for you. It isn't to do with you killing it, it's just picking the right thing.
So no one's got any excuse whatsoever?
No,
Brilliant.
not at all.
For the final chapter of my revival, I'm back at Wisley. Here, all the plant specimens on show are in impeccable condition. But what happens if one of your houseplants is feeling a little under the weather? Well, I've invited some poorly plant patients down to my pop-up plant surgery to show you how easy it is to care for your plants.
Hello, Doctor. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Please have a seat.
My first patient is a sickly citrus with a common complaint.
It's a classic case of one of the worst pests for houseplants, and that's mealybug.
Mealybugs are a sap-sucking pest that will drain your plants of energy, but have no fear, there is a cure. Diluted methylated spirit applied with a cotton bud should do the trick.
They hide deliberately in the cracks of the nodes here. This is the best, most practical and most satisfactory way of at least reducing the population on your citrus here. I find it extraordinarily therapeutic, but I'm a bit odd. So, the weirdest plant doctor on the planet.
My next patients are a family of cacti grown from seed.
Now tell me about this. What have you got here?
Well, this is a 12-year-old cacti. Well, there are 3 of them. They've never flowered, and they're still quite small. Should they grow larger?
These are upright serai cactus. This comes under a type of cactus called a pachycereus. They tend to flower after about 30 to 50 years of age. The second bit is it tends to flower at about 30 feet tall. Right, what I would suggest is to repot all 3 of these into different pots in the similar compost that you've got, and as sunny a spot as you can in your house or conservatory, and let them grow away. With a bit of potting up, they're going to fly away.
OK, in 30 years' time.
The final patient through the door of my surgery is a peace lily that has discoloured leaves, always a sign that things are not right.
Have you got it close to a sunny windowsill or against the glass?
It did used to be for a while.
They are woodland plants from parts of Southeast Asia, a lot of the Pacific Islands, and what I would say to you is when you're growing them in household conditions indoors is to keep it away from direct sunlight. Do you have it in a pot or a saucer?
Yes, it sits in a ceramic pot.
I think it's a bit of overwatering as well, hence the tip dieback. Solution, easy. From around the base of the pot do your watering, not from overhead, and let it drain through in the sink for 10 minutes before putting it into your saucer. It will prevent water building up at the bottom.
Oh, good, thank you.
Has that been of some help?
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic, madam.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. I've always been passionate about houseplants, but now I'm convinced even more than ever the need for all of us to rediscover them.
I hope my revival has given you the confidence to engage with the world of indoor gardening. These are the plants that inspired Darwin, and I have no doubt they will inspire you too. And that's a feeling that never, never, ever goes out of fashion.
So let's make luscious leaves and exotic blooms cool once again.